The Nissan X-Trail turns 25 this year. Over 4 generations, the Toyota RAV4 rival has been pretty good mostly, although the CVT autos have been a bit iffy, I've got to say. But the latest generation has been probably the best over that 25-year period. And I've got to say, it's all down to the e-Power version. Now, for 2026, Nissan has allegedly facelifted the entire X-Trail range. My name is Byron Mathioudakis for CarsGuide.com.au, here to see whether you should shortlist it amongst the 35 other medium-sized SUVs on the market. Let's go. Before we get started, here's a fun fact that blows my mind. The original X-Trail of 2001, the base ST manual, cost over $60,000 before on-road costs in today's money. Most compact SUVs did because we had a local car industry to support, but not anymore. Thankfully, the 2026 Ti-L e-Power costs significantly less than that before on-road costs. And of course, today's generation comes with heaps more features. The facelift brings an improved 360-degree monitor, including a new spooky-sounding skeleton hood view of the road directly below, the bigger 12.3-inch touchscreen now across the whole range, and extended annual service intervals up from 10,000 kilometres to 15,000 kilometres. This builds on the company's leading after-sales care. All X-Trails gain Nissan's Connected Car Services app, offering remote access and alerts amongst other benefits, but it's only free for the first 3 years. As before, there are 4 X-Trail grades for 2026, and they're probably easiest to tell apart by their alloy wheel designs. All come standard with Nissan's familiar 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine that incredibly dates all the way back to the 2001 X-Trail original. In car parlance, that's known as proven technology. The 2 cheapest X-Trails, the ST and ST-L, from just over $38,000 and nearly $43,000 respectively, come in either front-wheel drive or a unique 7-seater all-wheel drive option for $3,000 extra, while the Ti and Ti-L petrol all-wheel drives are only 5-seaters. Actually, so are all the hybrid versions, which start from a whisker under $49,000 for the ST-L e-Power, offering 2 electric motors, one on each axle, for all-wheel drive, pushing prices up by about $4,000 depending on specification. But as you'll find out if you keep watching, we think going e-Power is worth it, as this behaves more like an electric vehicle than most hybrids without needing to plug it in. The Ti-L e-Power you see here, from just over $58,000, scores the usual array of luxury trappings like Napa leather, Bose audio, tri-zone climate control, panoramic sunroof, electric and heated front seats, absolutely brilliant adaptive LED headlights, a power tailgate, and 20-inch alloys. Even though it's the most expensive X-Trail, this remains fiercely competitive against most of its hybrid-only opponents from Japan and South Korea, like the RAV4, the Honda CR-V, Hyundai Tucson, Kia Sportage, and Subaru Forester. China's hybrid and PHEV all-wheel drive alternatives are cheaper than all of the above, although they are yet to be proven in the longer term. Nissan, on the other hand, has had a quarter of a century's practice getting this model right. And here's another fun fact. In North America, the X-Trail is known as the Rogue. So hello, North American viewers. Anyway, for its 2026 facelift, there's a new grille. The bumper's been reprofiled. Nissan offers 2 new colours, including this blue. It looks a bit black to me, but anyway. But essentially, it looks very similar to the old car that was released all the way back in 2022. Now, there are no other changes at the front, and the side there are a couple of new alloy wheel options, but there are some alterations out the back. The designers have managed to make the rear look almost identical to the old one, despite having a different bumper, not as much black cladding here, although it's hard to tell in this blue, and that's basically it. So that's the exterior changes outlined, but what about inside? Well, time to check that out. Come with me. Here's another fact. Over 330,000 X-Trails have been sold in Australia in 25 years, and in every generation they've had the same large interior packaging for what is a mid-size SUV, and that continues with the facelifted one, of course. Every model now gets this larger touchscreen. It's got a new functionality, so it's easier and smoother to use. And there's also a redesigned steering wheel, but otherwise this remains the same. And that's no bad thing, because there's a good mix of physical buttons, such as for the climate control, and touch screen access. The now wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto work quick and efficiently, and the digital instrumentation, and there are options here, are also clear and very legible and attractive also. So it's a thoughtful, practical and well laid out interior. Also, special mention to the seats. I spent hundreds of kilometers in this particular car, and I came to the end of the journey feeling refreshed. So that's a mark, I think, of a well-engineered vehicle, and this certainly is that. Now, the rear seat area is also very family friendly, so let's check that out. That's a 90-degree opening door, and that's pretty rare in any car, let alone an SUV. So that, I think, encapsulates the family-friendly nature of the X-Trail. Now, this being a Ti-L, it's very well equipped. It's got reclining backrests. Unusually for a Japanese car, it's got a center armrest that folds as part of the folding rear seat mechanism. So it's a 40-20-40 arrangement. It's got a climate control system back here, including heated seats, face level air vents, and the little luxuries that you expect in a flagship, such as window blinds and personalized lighting and map pockets, and well, that's basically it. So it's as well equipped as you would expect in a $60,000 mid-size SUV. And of course, the practicality of the X-Trail continues out back, so let's check that out. Another fun fact is that the X-Trail is available as a 7-seater, but not in the hybrid versions, because where the seats would go is where the electrical things exist. So you still get a long, wide and easy to load cargo area. However, you miss out on two things. Firstly, the release hook for the seats, which the Mazda CX-5 has had since 2000 BC, and more importantly, no spare wheel. Instead, you get some tyre repair kit rubbish, which just doesn't work out in rural Australia. Like, if you get a puncture, you're done for. That's been my experience. I recommend, if you buy one of these, maybe just invest in an aftermarket jack and spare wheel. Other than that disappointment, the news gets good at the front of the car, so let's check it out. One of the key differences between this and other hybrids is the fact that this is an extended range electric vehicle, which means it's not a plug-in hybrid, it's not a regular hybrid like you get in a RAV4, but instead you have the petrol engine simply powering the battery that then sends electricity to the electric motors that drive the wheels. So the petrol engine never has a physical connection with the driven axle. How's that for a fun fact? Though at just 1.5 litres in capacity, this 3-cylinder turbo petrol engine is mated to a power generator, inverter and an electric motor on each axle for a combined 157 kilowatts of power and 525 newton meters of torque distributed to all four wheels. That's a lot more than the 135 kilowatts and 244 newton meters that the regular 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine can deliver. Not only does it set the X-Trail apart in terms of specification, it also changes the way it drives and the way it feels. So let's see how this thing is on the road. So what's the X-Trail e-Power like? Well, as it turns out, it marries really well with this Ti-L flagship because it is a smooth, refined and sophisticated powertrain experience. It's EV first, and even though the petrol engine does fire up and charge the battery fairly regularly, it doesn't sound too obtrusive, or it's not too loud. And you know, for most of the urban driving experiences, it is electric only. So let's talk about the performance. It's really lively off the mark, and if you really want to hoof it along and you put it in sport, this thing is downright fast for what it is. Again, it feels electric first, so there's just a whoosh of torque, and it just keeps building up. So if you like speed and you like instant response, this is your car. And you like the handling agility of this car. It's based on a Renault, Nissan, Mitsubishi Alliance platform, and so it has a European feel, like a deep engineering kind of basis to it. So it rides well. It's quiet enough. I mean, given this is a flagship, it certainly isn't at all uncomfortable. Bit of road noise coming through at times, but it's acceptable again for its price point, and it has it's got well nuanced ADAS, the advanced driver assist systems, the safety tech. There's a nuance in the way it responds, and it isn't too annoying or obtrusive. Sometimes the lane keep assist system interferes a little bit too regularly, but it isn't overly loud or anything like that. Overall, the X-Trail e-Power, in fact, is an enjoyable car to drive. We drove this down the coast and spent a few hundred kilometres in it, and it was certainly powerful enough. It felt like, it feels like a bargain GT, like a grand touring SUV. Comfortable seats, great driving position. It's hard to fault, to be honest with you. It's a good all-round package. In fact, I think that you'd be crazy to buy the regular X-Trail, like the regular 2.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol engine, over this e-Power unit, because the e-Power unit just runs rings around it. It just gives it a finesse and sophistication that the others lack, or that other one lacks, and I think this deserves to sell better as a result. Here are a couple more facts about the X-Trail for 2026. It gets a capless filler, which means that's pretty rare for a Japanese-made vehicle, in that you don't have to screw and unscrew things to put the nozzle in, so you get clean hands. That's a good thing. And secondly, it requires 95 premium unleaded petrol, so it drinks from the expensive Bowser. Now, Nissan reckons that this averages 6.1 litres per 100 kilometres for the e-Power, that is, and that is about on a par with last year's model, except somehow it does it more efficiently, and over the course of your driving range, you should be able to get a slightly more economical driving experience. Over nearly 700 kilometres of at times very demanding driving, we managed under 6.9 litres per 100 kilometres, which is what the e-Power's trip computer also calculated. While driven more gently, it dropped to under 5.5 litres. That's impressive stuff, meaning expect around 800 kilometres between refills even if you don't care about fuel economy, and about 1,000 kilometres if you do. And it's not just your wallet that e-Power looks after. The previous X-Trail boasted a 5-star ANCAP crash test rating, and we fully expect the 2026 model to do the same. Now, for this year, it gets more standard safety systems, which I outlined in my written review at carsguide.com.au, but the really big news is security, and that is in terms of ownership. At the time of publishing, Nissan offers a 10-year, 300,000 kilometre conditional warranty if you choose to service your Nissan at a Nissan dealer. Now that's up from 5-year unlimited kilometres, and basically it leads the industry. Now, Nissan also offers cap price servicing for an extended period of time, as well as roadside assistance. The first 5 annual services cost $399 each, and as of January this year, there are almost 180 Nissan dealers throughout Australia. As long as you keep returning to one of these, this is all great peace of mind stuff, topping off what is an enjoyable, family-friendly package, one that definitely punches above its weight. So guess what? For its silver anniversary, the X-Trail remains better than ever. Well, certainly in e-Power, guys, and this top-of-the-line Ti-L certainly delivers the good as well. It makes a convincing, value-packed, well-equipped and enjoyable to drive luxury medium SUV alternative for the family. I only wish that it came with a full-size spare wheel, but other than that, given its warranty, its reputation, and the fact that it's still so functional and easy to live with, it remains one of our favourite mid-size SUVs. Don't forget, you can read the full review at carsguide.com.au, and as always, thanks for watching.